doors that were shut tight against us are now open. So, long term, I remain optimistic.
An American icon.
Of the office on which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Who paved the way through our nation's legal system, a lawyer, a justice, a women's rights advocate.
I hesitate every time I say gender-based discrimination.
Tonight, a profoundly momentous night for our country as we remember the life and legacy of Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
She opened so many doors to so many people and did so much.
Tonight, Coloradans are in mourning.
She's just remarkable, and the loss of the country is huge.
Local lawmakers are reacting, and the president is already planning his next move as the Supreme Court seat opens up less than 7 weeks until Election Day.
Our complete coverage on this solemn evening starts right now.
And tonight, thousands of people in our nation's capital have gathered outside the Supreme Court building to pay their respects to Ruth Bader Ginsburg, a legal powerhouse who died today at the age of 87.
According to the Supreme Court spokeswoman, Justice Ginsburg died this evening, surrounded by her family at her home in Washington, D.C., due to complications of metastatic pancreatic cancer.
Governor Jared Polis has ordered all flags lowered to have staff immediately to honor her passing. Flags have already been lowered outside the United States Capitol.
We start our coverage tonight with ABC's Karen Travers, who has a look back at Ruth Bader Ginsburg's impact on this country.
She was just the second woman to serve on the U.S. Supreme Court, but Ruth Bader Ginsburg's true legacy may be as the legal architect of the equal rights movement. She graduated at the top of her class at Columbia Law School. Her career began in the 1950s when sexual and racial discrimination was a fact of life.
Not a law firm in the entire city of New York bid for my employment as a lawyer.
Eventually, she was hired by the American Civil Liberties Union. There, she would help lead a movement that changed the nation, challenging laws that treated men and women differently in employment, housing, and government benefits. She was appointed to the High Court by President Clinton in 1993.
In her pioneering work in behalf of the women of this country, she has compiled a truly historic record of achievement.
As a Supreme Court justice, she was best known for the far-reaching decision that struck down the Virginia Military Institute's men-only admission policy.
Those doors that were shut tight against us are now open. So, long term, I remain optimistic.
Justice Ginsburg was known as a judicial workhorse. She worked throughout her treatment for cancer in 1999 and again 10 years later. In January 2019, her recovery from surgery to remove cancerous lesions from her lung forced her to miss oral arguments, but she continued working from home. Ginsburg became something of a pop culture icon late in her life. This comedic but still reverent impression of her on Saturday Night Live.
I'm never gonna step down now. You can't get rid of me.
A documentary titled RBG, after a nickname given to her by fans, and the 2018 film On the Basis of Sex, focusing on her push for equal rights. On social issues like civil rights, abortion, and separation of church and state, she was a consistent liberal, yet she won the admiration of many conservatives for her grasp of the law and carefully considered opinions. Karen Travers, ABC News, Washington.
Reaction is pouring in from across the nation and from Colorado. On Twitter, Governor Polis said today, Coloradans and our nation mourn the loss of a titan. He says, we have lost a fearless advocate for women and families, and someone who never stopped working toward greater equality for all in the eyes of the law.
And Denver Mayor Michael Hancock calls Ginsburg a trailblazer, a champion for justice, a brilliant legal mind, and a legend. And Colorado's Attorney General Phil Weiser, who served as a law clerk for Justice Ginsburg, says, Justice Ginsburg changed my life, teaching me about equal justice under the law and what outstanding legal work looks like. For millions around the world, her memory will continue to be a blessing.
Colorado Congresswoman Diana DeGette called Ginsburg a hero, saying her dedication to advancing women's rights and equality for all was unrivaled, and her presence on the highest court in our land will be deeply missed. Colorado Republican Senator Cory Gardner says he's praying for the Ginsburg family. He writes tonight, thank you for your service to our country and our nation's highest court. Our nation mourns the loss of a trailblazing leader.
And President Trump just released a statement saying today our nation mourns the loss of a titan of the law, adding her opinions, including well-known decisions regarding the legal equality of women and the disabled, have inspired all Americans.
And presidential nominee Joe Biden spoke to reporters just in the last couple of hours.
She practiced the highest American ideals as a justice, equality and justice under the law. And Ruth Bader Ginsburg stood for all of us.
And we want to go back out to that picture in our nation's capital, actually at the Supreme Court building, where the crowd is growing. Denver7 reporter Joe St. George is there.
Powerful and emotional scene on the steps of the United States Supreme Court tonight as the nation begins to remember the life of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Thousands of people descending upon the Supreme Court tonight upon hearing the news. Candles burning in her memory, hugs and tears shed by those here.
And here at home, Coloradans also in mourning.
People gathered tonight for a candlelight vigil at Denver's City Park, and Denver7's Gary Brode is among them. Gary?
Well, dozens showed up here, young, old, men, women, to show their respects to a woman who did so much for so many people. And behind me, you could see the candles still lit, flowers placed next to it, right in front of the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. statue here in front of City Park. Now, those we talked to had a range of emotions, really. Some were sad, shocked. Some even were fearful. Now, some worried about who will replace Justice Ginsburg. Now, organizers spoke tonight giving speeches of hope, and women we talked to say they were inspired by Justice Ginsburg, some even getting to meet her in the past. Now, those brief encounters having a lasting impression.
She opened so many doors to so many people and did so much to substantively protect the rights of women and other people in this country that for her to go at a moment where her passing puts all of that at risk scares me.
I'm terrified of what's going to happen to this country because she's such a vital part of this country and for what we stand for, and I'm just afraid we're going to lose some of that.
Justice Ginsburg has earned her place among the ancestors, and now it's our turn as women and as Americans to come together.
And we mentioned the fear of who could replace Justice Ginsburg, where we're now hearing some in the community plan on going to Washington, D.C. to protest, asking President Trump to wait until the election is over. Reporting live here in Denver, Gary Brode, Denver7.
All right, Gary, and in these hyper-political times, the politics of the court vacancy are being considered even on the day of her death. Of course, the election just less than 7 weeks away.
And just last week, the president announced a new list of 20 potential nominees to the High Court. And according to ABC News sources, the president will announce the name of his nominee in the next few days.
But is there enough time to go through confirmation hearings and vote? According to the Congressional Research Service, the average number of days from nomination to final Senate vote is 67 days. There are 45 days until the election.
But late tonight, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says President Trump's pick will get a Senate vote, despite Ginsburg's dying wish. In the days leading up to her death, she told her granddaughter she wanted her replacement to be appointed by the next president.
Now, when Justice Antonin Scalia died in 2016, also an election year, McConnell did not act on President Obama's nomination for Judge Merrick Garland to fill that seat. That seat stayed open until Trump's election victory.
And speaking to reporters tonight, Joe Biden said now is the time to focus on her passing. And he says voters should pick the president, and that president should pick the justice. That is the position the United States Senate must take today. And
Colorado Democratic Senator Michael Bennet believes the nomination should happen after the November election. Republican Senator Cory Gardner's team, in fact, just a few minutes ago, responded to our calls for comment. They say they have no other statement on this matter tonight.
All right, so for those of you who don't know, here's a quick look at the nomination process. The president will release his pick. The nomination is then sent over to the Senate Judiciary Committee. Hearings will take place where both those supporting and opposing the nomination will present their views.
Senators will also ask questions of the nominee about qualifications, about judgment and philosophy, and then once the hearings are over, the full Senate will vote. Now, the Senate changed the rules after Trump was elected, and now only 51 votes, a simple majority, are required to confirm a Supreme Court justice, and of course, Republicans have the majority. We will have complete coverage throughout the weekend on air and on our streaming apps for Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV.
Business has been tough enough for small business owners. And the last thing some Arvada businesses needed was burglars ransacking them and making off with thousands in merchandise.
It's just the latest break-in in Old Town Arvada. Denver7's Adik Guajardo spoke to two business owners digging deeper into their pockets now to keep their doors open.
5280 Board Shop opened their doors less than a year ago.
We pretty much dumped everything we had into this business.
It's the shop owner Ralph Frieda and Michael Kent dreamed up. But less than 6 months after opening, the pandemic shut them down for 3 months. And now they're digging deeper into their pockets.
They came in through this door, they smashed it.
Surveillance cameras caught 2 burglars breaking into the Old Town Arvada shop on September 9th.
Just the sense of anger.
In the video, you see 2 people with hoodies loading up, and they make multiple trips.
38 seconds, and they made off with how much money?
About $6,000 worth of inventory.
Just 400 feet away, a liquor store and a bike shop were also broken into. The owner of Colorado Cycle Dynamics says crooks broke in twice during a 1-month span.
At least $40,000 worth of inventory. Angry, upset, frustrated.
Arvada detective David Snelling,
but that's very good video,
tells us the string of crimes are disheartening.
Do you believe that these criminals are connected to other burglaries in the area?
You know, it's a pretty good idea that they are.
Ralph says he's been sleeping at the shop to protect it since the burglary.
You know, we lost our sense of security. My peace of mind is gone.
But what gives him hope for justice? A burglar left behind a cell phone.
We are coming for him, and we will find him.
Addie Guajardo, Denver 7.
Tonight, a tragic update to the house explosion in Gypsum. The Eagle County Sheriff's Office says they have found human remains in the rubble. Crews digging to install fiber optic cables hit a gas line Thursday afternoon. Eagle County Fire said that gas leak caused the explosion.